Topic number one, Michael. We had some history uh, coming out of the Hoosier State, even though it was essentially a road game for them in over 130 years of program history. Indiana has their first national championship in college football in arguably the best game of in college football all year long.
It was a phenomenal game. Both teams really showed out. I think Indiana shutting Miami out in the first half, which was a surprise to anybody who talked about it. When we talked about it with John on Sunday night, we thought this would be a close game. You picked Miami. John and I both had Indiana. But them shutting them out in the first half, I think, sent a message for me personally. And then for them to come out and Miami to just start scoring points left, right, and center in the second half, what a great game. I mean, you had everything from good defense to the Heisman Trophy winner getting his moment and to a little bit of crazy history on the play that sealed the national championship for Indiana. Do you know what that crazy history was? So, do you know what the crazy history was with the final play of the game the other night?
Are we talking the interception or
Yes,
Mendoza's touchdown?
the interception.
Okay.
The kid who caught the interception for Indiana is the nephew of the guy who had DPI called on him in the 2003 Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State for Miami.
You
I
had
did
to
not
bring it
know.
back around to the
No, no,
Buckeyes, didn't you?
it's not even about the Buckeyes. It's more about the Miami connection there. Is that you had the uncle basically putting Miami in a bad spot in a national championship game, and this kid ended one. So I just it what a great moment for college football. What an absolutely great moment for college football. This is the best story we've had ever. Honestly, ever.
You know, the here's the funny thing as I'm going through one or two things on this very, very quickly. Um, Indiana never trailed in this tournament. They were about the only team in the field that won at least one game that could say that.
Yeah.
I mean, they were not behind or tied outside of 0-0 the entire tournament against Alabama, Oregon, and Miami. And let's be honest, Miami, hats off to them playing four great games in this tournament, four close games all the way through. And that game was still in doubt going back and forth the entire second half at that point. Miami, Indiana would jump out. We remember it was 10-0 at the half. Miami goes out, scores a quick touchdown, cuts it to 10-7. Indiana puts a touchdown on the board, extends it back to 10, back to a 10-point lead. Miami, and then the fourth quarter was just chaos. Touchdown, 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 touchdown to give us our final score. I'm sorry, three touchdowns and a field goal, and Miami still had the opportunity to go down and get the game-winning score. I mean, with the benefit of no timeouts, but the clock does stop with a first down in college.
Yeah, and the ball back through was criminally underthrown. I mean that ball was thrown right to the defensive back in that play. I got to give him some flowers too. He played really good this whole tournament. He was outstanding. But I tell you what, Mendoza impressed me. I was not a believer until this run. When you engineer a team to just annihilate Alabama, to embarrass Oregon, and then to win this game against arguably one of the top three defenses in the country, you've got to get your flowers, man. And it's not even the Heisman. I think we can both agree the Heisman this year was about who ended up winning the best conference in the country because the numbers were basically the same between him, Pavia, Sayin. and the other people and the other guys that were finalists. It was about whoever ended up undefeated. He did. He won it, and they backed it up. And I got to tell you, for somebody who has no rooting interest in that game, I couldn't have been happier with that.
I mean, the interception that Beck threw on the final, realistically, the final play of regulation, because it was two kneel downs at that point. Just trying to, punch it out from the 2 yard line, essentially. After they got backed up when the kid did the Dwayne Rudd and ripped his helmet off, which Kurt Signetti obviously was not happy about. But it was the only turnover in this game.
Yeah, he played phenomenal. Everybody played phenomenal. The fourth down run by Mendoza was, it was one of those. That was his Heisman moment. And we know that the history of Heisman Trophy winners in national championship games has not been very good. I mean, you go back the beginning of the 14 playoff, Mariota, they got embarrassed in the championship game. Who won the Heisman the next year? Nope, I think that was Manziel. So he wasn't in the championship round. Baker never got there when he won. Kyler never got there when he won. So I want to say it's the first Heisman winner to win the national championship in a while. So hats off, man.
Mendoza also becomes one of a very, very elite group, or I should say, he will be part of a very elite group of just 3 players to have won the Heisman, then gone out and won the national championship, and then get drafted number 1 in the NFL draft.
Oh, who are the others?
Joe Burrow and Cam Newton.
That's right.
Because Jameis won a Heisman, and he was drafted number 1. But remember, he won his Heisman and then won the national championship the next year.
No, I think Jameis did it too. I think Jameis
he's got the trifecta, but he didn't win the Heisman the same year as his national championship.
No, he won the Heisman in the national championship the same year. He didn't go number 1 overall. So he won his national championship his freshman year and his Heisman his freshman year.
I misread
He went back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then he went number 1. Right.
The same year.
And then they actually right. So with this one, they actually for Heisman winners to win the national championship, just trying to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Jeez.
Dating back to 1938. And he's the first since Devontae Smith in 2020 to do it.
That's right. Devontae he won that year. They won. That's that Alabama team. That was the entire first round of the draft. See, the only thing I can take away from this game is this. Both programs are set up very well for next year. Both have questions at quarterback. Because now, after this game, I don't know if you saw this, but Mendoza's brother, who was his backup all year, has transferred. He left Indiana.
Correct. Yes.
And Miami's got their own problems because Duke is suing that kid. That Miami, I know we were joking about the transfer portal thing with the Duke quarterback that was going to go to Miami. That not only did they pay him a boatload of money, but they promised his sister money too in order to get him there. And now Duke is suing him to keep him from leaving. I mean, it's just Miami could be in some serious turmoil in a year that the ACC is going to keep going down. Crystal Ball's got a great
chance. Miami's got the only one with the maybe Florida State with the bankroll to be able to be competitive to where they could possibly be, a top 4 or a top 8 seed to be able to get those buys for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with what they have coming back. You figure their best player on offense was Malachi Toney. He was a true freshman. I believe their running back is back next year. A decent portion of their offensive line is back next year. And I want to say one of their edge rushers was an
minus
underclassman.
minus that stud tackle who's going to go in the top 5.
Yeah, I think 4 out of the 5 were coming back. But and one of their pass rushers too was excuse me, an underclassman as well. So Miami's set up to make another run toward the playoff next year. Jim, as crazy as it sounds, I think the biggest question mark coming out of this game is can Signetti do it again? Can he reload it and do it again? Because I can tell you
Does
one
he
game
need to?
he doesn't need to, but the question becomes, can he? I know next season, I know they play the Buckeyes. We're talking about their schedule because everybody talks about the Big Ten schedule being cupcakes everywhere. I know they get the Buckeyes at home, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've got to go to one or two of the California teams. So Indiana's schedule gets a little bit harder next year than it was this year. We'll see how Signetti fixes the quarterback issue. But the best thing about him is that defense is young and good. So they're going to be a force to work with
And
next year
mean.
too. And mean. And for whatever reason, he recruits offensive line like a friggin' monster.
We know Mendoza's going to go number 1. He's going to be wearing silver and black unless somebody makes the Raiders an offer they are never ever ever going to be able to refuse. Um Especially with all the changeover and the turmoil and everything with the coaching staff and everything, is they're one of only about 3 or 4 teams left that have not, by at the time we're recording this uh on Saturday night before Snowmageddon hits the entire, you know east of the Mississippi River, from, north to south, essentially. um but we still got to know what's going on there. There's talk that Max Crosby could be traded. Who's to say what the Raiders are going to look like? Who's going to be that coach? Um, but there's a lot of people thinking that Carson Beck's indecisiveness, could it have helped his draft stock, or was it just more of he's a day 3 pick? I still think he's a day 3 pick. But the two Indiana receivers, one of those kids have just played themselves into being a first round pick and possibly the second receiver off the board.
I think you're right. Um, he had a great year. Both receivers did. The kid who did the toe tap in Penn State, I think, is going to be the one who's second off the board. I think Tate's going to go be the first one, and then that kid will go second. So let's say, like, he put together a hell of a roster. But again, with the way he did it, he's got to do it again. This
Right.
isn't, yeah, this isn't, he didn't recruit heavily out of high school. He'll be able to now, but he didn't recruit heavily out of high school. So this was a portal team. Let's see if he can do it again. And you know what? I hope they're good next year. I really do. I hope they are
Yeah,
good
I
and
mean,
make this consistent.
right, because they're getting the quarterback from TCU in the portal, so they're relatively set there. They're going to be losing Elijah Surratt. He's the 6'2", 209 stud receiver. He's a senior. He's not coming back. He'll go in the top 10 regardless of somebody out there is going to grab him. Charlie Becker, if he were to come out right now, he'd easily be a first round pick. He'd be a top 20 pick, but he's only a sophomore, so he's got at least one more year. He'll be a Bolitnikov finalist next year.
Most likely. Most likely. I can honestly see the majority of the Bolitnikov finalists coming from the Big Ten next year with what you have there between him, the kid from USC who won it this year was a sophomore, so he's got 1 year left. You got Smith from Ohio State. You have there was a kid from the one from Michigan, the slot receiver, who had a great
Yeah,
year this year with Bryce Underwood. You could get the entire Bolitnikov run right from the Big Ten, and that would be hysterical. A 10-second hypothetical on this game, though, Jim. If you had to pick those two, which one of them is going to get back there the fastest to the title game?
I think Miami, because I think the ACC sets up better for them, And for them to actually know with the talent that they have available, to be able to um, run it back, I think they're a little bit better set up because of how stacked the Big Ten is, top heavy. Indiana got their title, and I know I'm going way past the 10 seconds here. Um, but now we actually have to see what they look like in the portal and what Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and USC are going to do to reload to challenge them for next year, and Oregon for that matter, with Dante Moore coming back.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting one is what they're going to do with Rayola and Dante Moore. So, hey, a good college football season. We had a lot of things we weren't expecting, including the national champion. So, hats off to Indiana. And what we got? 7 months before we're talking about these guys again?
I mean, if you start thinking spring practices, what you got 3 or 4
4.
months?
Yeah, spring
Yeah,
games are in April.
I mean, if any of the snow melts before then to where they actually can step out on a field at this rate, considering how much we're getting, but that's for another day.
It's going to be 78 in Brunswick tomorrow.
Shut up. Segment 2, Michael, we've got basically 4 teams left. We've got 3 games left in the NFL season now, and the conference championships are set for tomorrow. So we will have the wild card Los Angeles Rams, the 5 seed, heading to Seattle to play the top overall seed, not only in the NFC but in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks, going up against the winner of that will play the AFC champion, which will actually be the number 2 seed New England Patriots, going to a very, very uneasy feeling top seed Denver Broncos in Mile High. Michael, what a divisional round we had. We had some terrible calls. I'm still bitter that the NFL still doesn't know how to establish a catch where they can make the exact same call, ruled an interception in the Buffalo game, and then the very very next day, almost to the minute, the Rams have the exact same issue and they rule it a catch.
Yeah, it's getting to be ridiculous. Like seriously ridiculous with that. But yes, the divisional games, I don't think we had a bad game in them. Well, Seattle beat the piss out of San Francisco, so maybe we had one. But I tell you what, shout out to Alex. Man, the Bears are going to be good.
I mean, if anything else, I mean, I'm a little bitter with John because he actually is saying, it was an interception in the Buffalo game, in the Buffalo Denver game. So I'm pissed off with him for that. But he was, you know, we can call him out a little bit here, and I can get a little bit of revenge because he actually said, with one of our OTR segments of replacing Justin Fields with Justin Fields, I think he's established that Caleb Williams is not Justin Fields.
No, Caleb Williams is not Justin Fields, but Caleb Williams has a better coaching staff and better weapons. So let's, unlike what the media we're not striving to be does, put the full context on it. They got Caleb Williams, a coach who knows how to run an offense, and they got him weapons. You know, we busted Alex chops about them taking Colson Loveland in the first round of the draft. That 2 tight end set with Caleb Williams with 2 safety valves is exactly why they played as well as they did this year. So listen, I'm very happy that our friend had a good season. I am hoping Stafford beats the hell out of Seattle on Sunday. I so badly want the Rams to win.
I mean, considering I'm wearing them right now, Seattle, according to ESPN, only a 54% uh, favorite in this game. Whereas with the Broncos and Patriots now, as we flip over, New England is a 58% favorite, and this is all because Jared Stidham will be under center as Bo Nix on the second to last play of overtime breaks a bone in his foot and requires surgery. Otherwise, I think Denver would have blown the brakes off of New England and ended Drake May's magical run.
I agree with you. I still think Denver wins. I think Denver's defense right now is something New England hasn't seen yet. Uh, with who New England played last week in playing against played Houston, right?
Correct.
They got
And I
a
think
lot of
she
help from they got a lot of help from CJ
well,
Stroud last week.
I was just gonna say it's, and I'm not trying to throw dirt on,
Nope.
you as a Buckeye fan, but it's like he showed that, I mean, realistically, what is it with Ohio State quarterbacks that once they get into the playoffs, they turn into pumpkins? He's been in the playoffs, the last 2 years and has been abysmal in both of yeah, in the last
Well,
3. He looked semi-manageable in that first one. The last 2 years, he doesn't even know what he's doing.
well, it's the divisional round that gets him because he's won the wild card round every year. So he plays really well in the wild card round, which he did this year. And then for whatever reason in the divisional round, he forgets who the hell he's throwing the ball to. And I got nothing for it. I don't know what to say about it. You're absolutely right. I don't think it's an Ohio State thing. I think it's just it is what it is. Uh, Most of the time, Ohio State quarterbacks aren't getting to the postseason. Let's be real honest here, Jim. Um,
Yeah, because 'cause they're out of the
but
league within, 2 years.
well, you know what? Fields is sticking around. Got to give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, but, but not for long. But I mean,
No.
when you look at this, you know New England has got some issues. Travion Henderson is likely not going to play tomorrow. Stephon Diggs has been up and down. The Broncos, they're getting J.K. Dobbins back, so you got that Ohio State potential matchup if Henderson plays. Cortland Sutton was was a ghost town, you know, most of I mean, but he's also been off injured. There's a possibility he may play tomorrow. They just need Stidham to be manageable. And sure, they're not going to get Knicks back in time. If they were to get through, he's not going to be ready in 2 weeks. But I mean, does if Stidham were to actually come in and run this thing through, where would you actually put him? Like, if we're talking like Mark Rippon, Jeff Hostetler, Nick Foles, where would Stidham have to be slotted in that backup role that took over as the starter in the playoffs and got his team to a championship? The list is pretty shallow.
It is. I think you would have to give him the Nick Foles treatment just because it's a short amount of time. Hostetler played about half that season, if I'm not mistaken. Mark Rippon was from a training camp injury, right?
Correct.
And he started that whole year. Of course, Foles, what was it like week 14?
Right. With the injury to why is his name eluding me?
Carson Wentz,
Carson Wentz, yeah. Who played
who was
on
going to be the MVP of the league.
right. Yeah. I mean, we can't put, Kurt Warner's name in there because he was basically the starter after Trent Green's injury very early in the year. But I mean, for somebody coming in that late in the season, taking over and then still being able to get his team through is going to be saying something. You know, it's this is I got a feeling, especially with the storm that's ripping through. If this game was going to be in New England, they would have had to move that game to Monday, maybe Tuesday, because of how bad it was going to be. I will say, if it's going to be up in Mile High, it's going to be cold. There's going to be a lot of snow. It's not going to be nearly as bad as what most of the country is going to be getting here, starting probably within the next hour after you and I finish taping tonight. Hopefully, I don't lose power to where I can get this edited on Sunday while the games are ongoing. In that regard, but uh, this is going to be the running backs are going to get a lot of run in this game, no pun intended, because uh, you know Denver's defense is going to make life a living hell for Drake May. He's going to be handing the ball off a ton, and Stidham. The one thing that I heard when I listened to Boomer Esiason this morning while I was running some errands when it was like 3 below up here in Cleveland was that Stidham, unlike Nix, has the ability to push the ball down the field that Sean Payton was trying to push Bo Nix to do, and he wouldn't do it. But, I mean, that could be interesting, but how effective is that really going to be? Because New England's got a very good secondary where Denver just we thought that the Browns and the Seahawks have great front sevens. Denver just beats the hell out of you.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest test for Mike Vrabel as a head coach in New England, especially what he's going to have to scheme, what him and his OC are going to have to scheme to keep Drake May from getting his head blown off. That front seven's going to come after him, and they're going to come after him hard. And then with having Pat Surtain healthy again, you've now locked down whoever they think their number one receiver is. So this is going to be a big, hopefully, if Travion plays, a big Travion Henderson game. Stevenson's their other running back, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to be
Yes.
big. Tight end is going to be big in this game. And if Stidham can push the ball down the field, that is the one place New England's had some vulnerability from what I've watched a little bit of this year. If the middle of the field, they'll either take your head off or they'll pick you off. It seems down the field, outside the numbers, is where they've had some problems. Stidham has a stronger arm than Bo Nix. If he's ready to dial one up and take a shot, take it. Hopefully your guy gets open.
If you had to choose between watching one of these games, if gun to your head, you were only able to watch one, which one are you watching tomorrow?
Seattle and the Rams.
And why?
Um, because I hate New England, first of all. But second of all, I've always been, for lack of a better term, a closet Stafford fan. Ever since that game against the Browns when he separated the shoulder in what was his rookie year, I think it was. And he comes off the bench and throws the 2-point conversion to tie or give him the win or whatever. I've been a Stafford fan there, and I would love to. Like I said this last week on the Wiseys. I would love to see him win one and walk off, and then him and his boy from childhood both win a championship and walk off in the same year. That would be pretty damn cool.
In LA, nonetheless. Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
he's got to be the odds-on favorite for the MVP with the year that he had. He had 4,700 yards, 46 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, and we didn't even know if he was going to be able to suit up with his injuries going into training camp. But that's where look at all the storylines that are coming out of that game. We talked about the NFC, I'm sorry, the AFC a few minutes ago. With this, the Rams, for the first time really in months, are about as healthy as an NFL team can be. They got everybody basically back ready for this game. Seattle is pretty much ready to go. And you've now got the story of Stafford trying to get one and go off into the sunset, where he's basically almost playing in his backyard again, because the last time Stafford was in a Super Bowl was when the Rams, it was a home game against Cincinnati, and they won that. Now it's in Santa Clara, where it's a few hours up the road, still out in the west, um, at this particular point. But then also think of the history if you're Seattle at this point, because if Seattle gets through, you're guaranteed a Super Bowl rematch in some capacity, and it's the greatest quarterback matchup of our lifetime. So it would be the first time they would meet the Broncos since Peyton Manning, and it would be the first time that they would meet the Patriots since Tom Brady was there, the infamous Marshawn Lynch game. But it's also the fact, if Seattle gets through, think of how legendary that 2018 quarterback class was. You had Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and the first one of them to get to a Super Bowl would
Sam
be
Darnold.
Sam Darnold on his fifth team.
Unreal. It just goes to show you, Jim. Situation is everything. It's not about player. It's about scheme and it's about situation. Darnold was in dog shit situations till last year in Minnesota.
and this could be, shifting gears for like 2 seconds. This could be a very interesting. We could see a shakeup with the Rams quite a bit. The ripple effect that could come out of this is because now there's a lot of teams that are chomping at the bit to be able because they can't interview um, Nate Shieldhouse, the Rams pass game coordinator under Sean McVay because they're still in the playoffs. There's a lot of we saw, at the time we're taping this on Saturday night, Mike McCarthy was just announced a few hours ago to be named the head coach in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of teams that are trying to line up to get Grant Udinsky, the offensive coordinator with the Jaguars. But there's a lot of teams kind of maybe holding out, trying to interview Shieldhouse with the Rams, and they have to wait. And teams are looking to fill these voids very quick. They don't. I don't know if they're going to want to wait 3 more weeks if the Rams actually get through.
Yeah, I mean that's always a dilemma when the coaching carousel starts and the teams that are in the playoffs have sought after coordinators. Though, Jim, the bigger thing surrounding the NFC Championship game is it's really like a bookend type thing because it'd be the true start of Sam Darnold's career if he can get to the Super Bowl, and
Mhm.
it's the perfect ending for Matt Stafford if that's where he lands. In the AFC, you have you know one of the better coaches of the last 15 years, and Mike Vrabel looking to get to a Super Bowl. And let's not forget, Sean Payton hasn't been to one in almost 17 years. This would be his first one since that one with New Orleans when they beat the then Indianapolis Colt quarterback Peyton Manning. So the storylines for the coaches are interesting. The storylines for the quarterbacks is interesting. This is going to be a fun Sunday, man. It's going to be a fun Sunday.
And one other bit of history, and we'll end on this, is that if the Rams get through, the game is going to be Super Bowl 60 is going to be on NBC and Peacock. That'll have meant that both times Matt Stafford would have been in the Super Bowl. Al Michaels would have been calling those games, and who's to say that Al Michaels may not actually hang them up after this year as well?
I don't even want to think about that. I don't. I can't. I will say this parting shot of my own. If the Rams get to the Super Bowl, they better pray Denver wins. What's the early game?
Yeah,
Seattle or
do we really wanna see, you know, first of all, it would be the first time in history we'd actually have the same Super Bowl matchup 3 times. I mean, we've had 2. We've had, Kansas City and San Francisco go back to back, or Kansas City and Philadelphia we've seen a couple of times, but that would be the first time we'd ever actually see the same matchup 3 times. You're talking going back to the old AAFL to be able to see the same matchup 3 times for a world championship.
yeah. Oh, that's right. Because the Cowboys and Bills were only two because they lost to the Redskins and then Redskins
And the
and the
Giants.
Giants in the other two. Okay. Why did I think it was? Because the Cowboys with the third one was against Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yep.
Well, they've seen each other three times too. Pittsburgh and Dallas. I'm pretty sure twice in the '70s. Than that one.
I'd have to look that up. I wanna say it might only be 2.
I know the day I was
That's
born
something
was
that's
Dallas.
something that's something that we'll fact check
We'll get
that
to
later
yeah,
in the
yeah, exactly. So let's quick predictions as we get toward the 18-minute mark here, Jim. What do you say? Who do you like in both games?
I like New England. I think the injuries going on with Denver, especially at the quarterback position, might be a little too much to handle. And I think that the moment might be a little bit too big for Stidham. The NFC, I would like to see the Rams. I think that they're healthy. I give them a very slight edge, and I just actually want to be able to beat that damn team for a world title in 3 weeks.
I agree. I will take Denver though in that game. I think Denver's defense is going to win this game tomorrow. And I will also take the Rams. A little bit head, a little bit heart. I think that, yes, Seattle's defense was really good against a team that was decimated by injury. Let's see what they do against, really, like you said, with that one of the healthier teams we've seen to this point in the playoffs.
And I'll end on this. The reason why I'm kind of going Rams Patriots here, for there's also an ulterior motive. You remember, I was also a very big Denver fan when they kind of made the change from the Orange Crush to the current style of uniforms, the Shane Dronette, Terrell Davis, John Elway, late in his career type issues. I'd never be able to watch that game. That would basically be like when it was Rams Titans. It would be two of my favorite teams going head to head. I couldn't watch that. I can't watch the Super Bowl.
I understand.
And to end the night's festivities, we're going to have a little bit of fun here. Uh, Last week was our first show of the year, but this is our first full pre-recorded show with the new format. So I thought it would be a lot of fun that we give our New Year's resolutions, but at this point, it's not our personal New Year's resolutions because Mike and I, if Mike doesn't typically do them, Mike knows I had quite a few of them. One of them bottomed out on me yesterday. So I'm not in the right mindset to share those at the moment. But we're going to take this a different way. We're going to have one for one of the major teams that we follow. We're going to do another one for our hometown team. So Mike's got options between either Cleveland or New York, or he can even go Georgia if he wants to, based off of where he's located. And then we can do a third one based off of any league that we want to. It could be the PGA Tour, it could be college football, it could be the NBA, the NHL. No matter what it is, just a resolution that we would like to actually see a team enforce and stick with through 2026. So, Michael, I'm going to actually put the ball in your court here. Where would you like to start tonight?
I'm going to start with a team I follow, and I'm going to start with my New York Mets, who have had a hell of a week with the acquisitions of Bo Bichette, the trade for Luis Robert Jr., and of course, the blockbuster for Freddie Peralta, which was great. But my New Year's resolution for the New York Mets is simply this: you lost last year because you didn't have enough pitching. Don't stop at Freddie Peralta. Go get more pitching. They actually did today. They signed Craig Kimbrell today. So they're granted he's 106, but still. So yeah, that's where I would go. I would say David Stearns, don't stop gathering arms. How about you, Jim, for a team you follow?
I'm actually going to stay in the state of New York, and I'm going to go with the red hot and currently sitting in a top six position, Buffalo Sabres. Now,
Wait,
the
I'm sorry. Did you
Sabres,
say top six in Buffalo Sabres in the same sentence?
yes, right now the Sabres have
Yes.
the fourth best home record in the National Hockey League. With their win today, they would a 5-0 win over the second place New York Islanders in Long Island. Nonetheless, the Buffalo Sabres are currently sitting in a top three position in their division and are only 5 points back of Tampa Bay, who has won 16 of their last 17 games. The Sabres have won 18 of their last 22 and are on pace for
Jeez.
102 points. Um, but there's a price here that, regardless of how the season ends, the Buffalo Sabres need to get in the staff or need to elevate somebody to take Lindy Ruff's place. Lindy Ruff got his 1000th win today with that victory in the National Hockey League, but Lindy Ruff is 72, 73 years old. He doesn't have too much more time. It's a great nostalgia piece that the last time the Sabres were in the playoffs, Lindy Ruff was the head coach. They were still wearing the slug jerseys, if I remember, which you remember I used to own. And if he can get them back there, especially after all the shakeups that they had with firing their general manager, a few weeks ago, um, it would be a wonderful, wonderful story. but you got to keep the momentum rolling. So there's going to be some guys out there that you might be able to go out and get. Um, but you got to start thinking life after Lindy Ruff because he's not going to be there forever.
I didn't realize he was that old. That's a good one.
I mean, he still looks younger, but when you've won 1,000 games, it also means you've lost a lot of games, and you've been there. You've been with the organization at some particular point for 5 decades because he was a player with the Sabres way back when as well.
Wow.
Michael, your New Year's resolution for one of your hometown teams,
Well,
and
I
the
am
Mets are
going.
off the table now.
Yes, the Mets are off the table. I am going to the home of my heart, the land, the 216. And I am going to take my resolution for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Make a deal at the deadline. The Larry O'Brien trophy is there for the taking. Go get it. You've built a wonderful core. You've built it the right way. Do what you need to do and get this title.
You had to go there, didn't you? Because now I
I
got a
messed yours
feeling
up.
how we went 35, 40 minutes talking about Ohio State on last week's show when we went live when we said we only wanted to do it for about 5 minutes. Um, Thankfully this is pre-taped. My New Year's resolution for a hometown team is also the Cleveland Cavaliers. And my resolution is you need to break up the core four because it's obviously not working the way that you want it to. You need to make a splash, whether it's Darius Garland, whether it's Jared Allen. You need to go out and you need to do something because this is not working. You've tried multiple different coaches. You brought in DeAndre Hunter. It worked last year, and you still came up short because of the injuries. Darius Garland always gets hurt late in the season. He's going to be out again for a few more weeks. Uh, you're not getting Max Struess back until after the All Star break. At this point, the injury bug has hit. The best ability is availability, and they don't have it late in the year. And even when they have had it this year, even being down Merrill or Struess, it is not working. Sometimes you need to break up the dichotomy and maybe take a step backwards before you can push forward. You've got to break the core four up.
Yeah, I'm starting to buy into that.
Michael, will end on this. Now, any league that you want to cover, soccer, hockey, baseball, basketball, any league that you want to talk about, what is your New Year's resolution? What is the league and what is your resolution?
Okay, so I need Rob Manfred to look me in the eyes. Okay. Grow a pair, you gap tooth son of a bitch, and put the salary floor in the CBA. What we are witnessing these teams doing who refuse to spend money, but when you put out the financial disclosures, all of them are operating in the red, is starting to become the problem, not the solution. Put the salary floor into effect in the CBA, you fucking coward. I'm done.
I almost feel like I want to do two because you just stole mine again.
God damn it.
Message to Major League Baseball. My New Year's resolution, regardless of how this season plays out, to the owners, please lock the players out. Please let them know that yes, you have kind of given the ability for the inmates to run the asylum, and the only way that you're going to be able to take that thing back and be able to get a little bit more control, you need to lock the players out. at the end of the 2026 World Series. You need to stand firm. And I will never typically stand with ownership in this regard. I understand that there are some teams that do not want to spend. I understand that you need to put things in place to make sure that they do spend, but it's also still the fact is that as long as you do not have that cap and that floor, and you have basically wide open space that no matter what you do, there is, even if you put a floor in, you are still going to have teams way up here off camera, and you're still going to have basically the same thing. So until you put both in, which you're not going to do because the players are not going to let you do it, it's still not going to solve anything by establishing a floor. You need to lock the players out. You need to send a message.
How do the people who write the checks and cause this send a message by saying we're taking your ball and you need to go home?
I think it's more a matter of some of these owners realizing, yeah, we're getting revenue sharing with this, but we can't keep functioning when we don't have a chance in hell of going out and competing. The Guardians today spent $135 million to sign Jose Ramirez for 7 years, and it'll be the last contract of his career. Problem is Jose Ramirez is going to be close to 40 by the time that ends. And even though he is playing at an MVP caliber level, he's signed for 7 years. You honestly think he's going to be able to keep this up for 7 years? And you're going to be eating a lot of that salary. You're looking for a team in 3 or 4 years when those numbers start to come down that's going to have to take that over. And hopefully we've got a salary cap by then. But it's also the matter of you had to go out and buy Jose Ramirez, because if you don't, then the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Mets or the Phillies are going to sign him to a $500 million contract over, over the same period. And it's just going to make baseball even that much more unwatchable, because you're not going to be able to see the opportunity for these teams and these players to be able to see to be able to get the stars that they want to be able to see. Mike Trout brought baseball back to Anaheim. You you don't get that opportunity. Baseball in Pittsburgh, even though they've got a pretty bad team, is watchable every 5 days because people want to pay for Paul Skeens. If Paul Skeens is going elsewhere, why would Yankee fans want to actually go pay that much more money to go watch Skeens when they're selling out most games anyway, when they've already got an entire team worth of all stars on top of it? What's the point? You need to have stars in smaller markets, and you need to be able to have that balance to be able to do that.
It's fair.
Final thoughts? Any personal resolutions this year?
No, I don't do them. I honestly, I don't do them. I never have. It's just, you know what? I got enough that changes day to day that if I put a resolution on it, then I'm going to feel like I forgot to do it halfway through the year. So
that's that's a fair point. Um, if I survive this storm coming, um,
Jesus.
yeah, it's February 1. It's back on all my entire health kick. Wouldn't you know that I went out in that sub-zero weather on Friday after work, saw that everything was cleared out of over 60% of the shelves at my local Aldi, and went to grab a whole bunch of things, and I forgot the two things I needed to, and I had to run back to Aldi this morning in 4 below temperature just to be able to get milk and pineapple juice for my smoothies.
You mean you didn't just go get milk and bread?
There's a bunch of us sharing pictures from our local Aldis in the greater Cleveland area. you can't find a loaf of bread. I bought I bought a pack of chicken sausages, try to eat a little bit cleaner as opposed to buying a pack of brats. Great. I thought I had hot dog buns at home. Didn't. There's no sausage rolls left on the shelf. There's no hot dog buns left on the shelf. I got to wait until at least Tuesday or Wednesday for them to come back in.
You'll be all right. I have faith.
I'm glad somebody does.
Yeah, it's not much, but it's there.
Well played.
I know.
Would you shut up and just push the button already?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's the YZ Translator on the Wise Guys Sports Show.
I'm forever unclean.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the evening. It is the YZ Translator. It is the best segment of the night because it is the last segment of the night. It is a time when James and I give each other names inside and outside of the sports world, and we come up with the first thing that pops into our head. Now, with our new format, we are still working on making sure the Chronicle still becomes the funniest part of yours and my day every day. So tonight, just to give you a little bit of flashback, the YZ Translator has given us everything from Brett Favre being compared to a Dukes of Hazzard character, Joel Embiid being called out for what he is, a walking insurance claim, and Alex calling Dwayne Johnson a shitty actor. We have had the spectrum of pop culture and sports like no other with this wonderful thing that started with our first live draft react just a couple years ago. So, James, it is incumbent on me to give you the first name in tonight's translator, and that name, sir, is new Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy.
They have had 4 head coaches since 1969. Nice. It's going to be 5 before the end of this decade because there's no, I mean, I'm going to totally kind of plagiarize the graphic I saw earlier that now the fact that Aaron Rodgers may not come back, they're one good quarterback and a number 1 receiver away from winning the Super Bowl in 2010. The Steelers are not going anywhere with Mike McCarthy as head coach.
No. Ironically, I think he's the best fit for them of the coaches that were out there. But no, they're not going much of anywhere.
But let's also think about that is that the names that you've been hearing getting thrown out for head coaching roles, we saw Harbaugh land in New York, basically the second the plane landed. Stefanski very quickly got gobbled up. Jesse Minter signed with Baltimore yesterday, which was a little surprising that he got gobbled up that fast. Grant Udinsky is likely going to have a job by Tuesday, whether it's Cleveland or Buffalo or somebody. And it might even be Wednesday just because he may not be able to fly into either one of those places with the blizzard that we're getting. There's teams that are waiting on, as we discussed earlier in the show, Shield House with the Rams for them to finish up their playoff run. Sean McDermott's name is still out there. There was only 1 or 2 teams that legitimately were thinking Mike McCarthy because he's been out of football. He hasn't had a head coaching gig in a couple of years. Where did this come from? And Pittsburgh of all teams.
He's a Pittsburgh guy. He's from the area.
But you never really heard his name linked to that job other than that.
You didn't hear anybody linked to Pittsburgh at all. So I just think the way the Steelers do their business, this was going to be an off-the-radar hire. And by the way, that's kind of how Pittsburgh's hired every coach they've had. Bill Cowher was an off-the-radar hire. Mike Tomlin was an off-the-radar hire.
Now, I might have to go back and somebody might need to fact check me on this. Have we heard anything now that Pittsburgh's hired their guy and Cleveland it looks to be very close to their guy? Have either one of them filled the Rooney role? I don't remember hearing about a minority candidate being interviewed by the Steelers because realistically, from what I've been hearing, you know, obviously McCarthy had one, if not two interviews with them. How many more other guys could they have spoken with since Tomlin got let go?
I think they interviewed every internal candidate they had,
Yeah, but
which is
here's the
why I think
thing. To satisfy the Rooney rule, that doesn't apply. It has to be an external candidate.
they don't advertise what they're doing. They are plus it's their team that came up with the rule. So they're going to follow it. So I honestly believe that they have done their due diligence. They don't tell the press. They don't care to tell the press, and they just kind of do their thing.
Legally, they have to, though, because it's got to be made public to the other
They
teams
have to
that
tell the
are out
league.
there.
They have to tell the league. They don't have to tell Shefty or Rappaport or anybody. They have to tell the league. The league disseminates that information.
Speaking of which, and this is not part of my translator, so if the Steelers have actually done their due diligence and none of this really got out, we've actually also seen the people talk about the Raiders being the laughing stock. When the Cleveland Browns are asking their candidates to write essays and four finalists dropped out.
I live in the Bible Belt South, and I have seen things, James. You have come to visit me. You have seen things. Jimmy Haslam might be the dumbest fucking redneck on the planet.
This might be an Andrew Berry thing, trying to prove that he's the smartest guy in the room, though.
This is Jimmy. This is Jimmy. Anytime it's a dumbass idea, it's Jimmy.
If we record middle of next week and they still do not have a finalist or somebody named, we get to go off on them next week. That will already be a topic for next week.
Guaranteed. The question, though, is what kind of coach is Andrew Berry looking for? Is he looking for the young offensive mind? Because then there's your answer. He's waiting for Shieldhouse to get done with the season.
Or
We'll see
he's
what
waiting,
happens.
or he's basically got his mind made up that it's Grant Udinsky. He's just actually trying to see if he can keep Udinsky from getting on the plane and going to Buffalo.
Possibly.
Michael, your name in the YZ translator, you may not recognize the name, but when I actually describe what happened with it, you absolutely will because you saw this. He is now the author of two of the greatest NHL goalie highlights in the last 5 years. A few years ago, he scored on himself trying to play the puck on a clearing attempt on a power play while his team was shorthanded. Earlier this week, he was involved in the first goalie fight in 6 years in the league, and it is San Jose Sharks goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic.
I remember the goal scoring against himself, and I thought, how dumb can you be? And then I watched him try and fight a dude, and I went, oh, that's how dumb you can be.
Coming the length of the ice, I mean, the second you actually cross the red line, you're immediately ejected.
Exactly.
It was entertaining. There weren't a whole lot of shots that landed, but man, it was fun to actually, bring back a good old goalie fight.
It was good to see the goalie fight. The problem was more punches were landed by those Pee-wee kids than there were by the goalies in that fight.
And Nedeljkovic and Bobrovsky are likely going to be suspended at least one game for that.
Yeah, and Bobrovsky should have beat his ass more. Gonna creep up on me like that.
Is this good where they can get it. The fact that San Jose is this good, that's actually the more foolish thing about it is that it was entertaining as hell. San Jose could right now they're sitting in a playoff spot just 2 years away from having the number 1 pick in the draft where they grab Macklin Celebrini, who, I mean, if you look at Bedard, Celebrini, Adam Fantilli with the Blue Jackets, and what Schaefer is doing with the Islanders this year, where he is going to win the Calder Trophy as the league's top rookie in a walk. And they're also saying there's a lot of people saying he's going to finish top 3 in the Norris Trophy for best defenseman behind Cale Makar and Zach Werenski. Um, San Jose's got something cooking, and you need your starting goaltender to be available night in, night out. It was a little foolish on Nedeljkovic, but we're not going to complain for how entertaining it was.
Agreed.
It's no Steve Shields, Ray Emery, Ron Hextall, duking it out, or Billy Smith from the back in the 80s with those Islander teams wanting to throw hands. But it was good for what it was.
It was, and it was no Osgood Patrick Waugh either, which may have been the best goalie fight ever.
Yeah, that one was really up there. Although Ray Emery, remember the infamous Senator Sabres line brawl. Ray Emery was trying to go at it with Andrew Peters, who was Buffalo's enforcer. We're not
Yeah.
talking goalie on goalie crime. We're talking goalie on defenseman crime. Because remember, Emery had beat the shit out of Marty Biron and was still looking for somebody to go after.
Yeah, he had shit wrong with him.
The late great Ray Emery, and I still think about it every time the Senators and Sabres get together because Marty Biron is on the Sabres intermission report.
Oh, no shit. That's
So
awesome.
we will come to you guys next week, episode 136. We will take a look back at this weekend's conference championship games. We'll actually start looking ahead. We're vastly approaching the NHL break for the Italy Olympics. I want to say we've got 2 weeks worth of games, and then those are on pause. We're hopeful that we have some information on the WNBA season with their contract negotiations between the players and the league. We've got more names being signed in baseball, so we're locked and loaded here for a little bit. But we absolutely will be talking about the conference championship games leading into our Super Bowl preview in 2 weeks.
So we will talk to you guys next week in this format, and I like this, James. I really do. I'm going to bed early tonight. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, my Switch just got a nice little 90-minute rest, and it gets fired back up until hopefully I don't lose power with this storm because that would suck. It's because I'm on my
Yeah,
favorite
it
scene
would.
of Final Fantasy VII right now.
Nice.
Everybody
So
have
we will
yourself
see you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Everybody stay safe regardless of where you are when you're hearing this. This storm is going to take it's going to roll through in about 36 hours. It's probably going to take everyone 2 or 3 days to recover from. So everyone be careful. That's also including my co-host who's actually getting, the back end of it down there in Georgia.
Yeah, we'll be good. But especially you take care of yourself. Be safe.
Good night, everybody.
See you, everybody.